Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Hello and welcome once again to another episode of Counterculture presented by Counterman Magazine. I'm Jeff White, the managing editor of Counterman. Back at the start of 2025, Jeff Koviak took over as the CEO of the Automotive Parts Services Group. Now, 7 months later, he joins us in studio and he's going to talk about the trends shaping the aftermarket as well as his vision for the group. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, let's start off now with your first 7 months at the head of the group. What have your first few months been like, and how has that shaped your approach early in your leadership?
Yeah, well, it's been great. I luckily had the luxury of overlapping with Larry Pavey for a few months at the end of last year, and that really helped speed things up from a transition perspective. But, you know, Larry and the leadership of the group has done a lot of great things over the last 10 years. They've accomplished a lot. They've made our members much more stronger than they would have been as an isolated WD. So they had a lot of, I really was able to walk into a pretty good situation. But what I'm trying to bring, something a little different, is I'm trying to bring really a data-driven strategic approach to how we can kind of take things to the next level, just in the essence of progress. And that, you know, I've been able to show them a few strategic initiatives that can make a difference for the group as a whole. And, you know, it's either going to drive revenue, or it's going to increase capabilities, or it's going to cut redundant costs. So in general, that's what I'm trying to do, just really focus on what's most important, that matters most. And then the final thing that I'm hoping to bring to the party is really to drive a sense of urgency into following through on some of those commitments and priorities. So, you know, I like a process-driven approach, and that usually drives a sense of urgency. And I think everybody feels that we're off to a pretty good start.
Now, this may be considered a dirty term for some in the industry, or maybe others are embracing it, but you talk about data-driven. Artificial intelligence, how does that play into the group's approach to doing business? Yeah,
from an artificial intelligence perspective, I wouldn't say that, you know, we're doing group-wide initiatives in that space. We have many members that are incorporating it in just a variety of ways. And whether it's getting the right inventory in the right locations locally, whether it's driving strategic pricing initiatives, or whether it's just, you know, better systems and mapping for delivery of parts. But, you know, I'm seeing a lot of different AI opportunities, and we're just trying to share those so we can have best practices within the group.
All right, in your 7 months with the group, what have you learned from your conversations with counter professionals and service dealers?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I've really learned is that, you know, you touched on the AI subject, and the business has become very automated and transactional. But in general, there's still a lot of cases where it's a people business, and that now it may be a little less often where it's a people-to-people conversation, but our counter pros need to be the solution solvers when the time calls, and that, you know, there still needs to be a trust between the technician and their counter pros that they work with. And so there's going to be different opportunities that come up, whether it's going to be helping, you know, figure out a problem with a certain application, whether it's hard to find parts, whether it's dealing with a warranty or a labor claim. But there's going to be different situations where you're going to have an opportunity to represent the independent aftermarket. And, you know, what I really see is that technicians are going to, it builds loyalty. And when it's just the day-to-day business, they're going to stick with the folks that have helped them out in the past.
I want to ask you about this because you've been in this industry for a while now, 30 plus years. And you know as well as anyone, the aftermarket is always changing. The challenges of 10 or 20 years ago certainly aren't the challenges of today. So in your opinion, what are the biggest challenges parts stores are facing, and how does the group help them face those challenges?
Yeah, in my opinion, it comes down to an issue with our industry. We're seeing it with the technician shortage. I think we're seeing it with the counterman shortage. But, you know, I feel that we really need to do our best job at having individuals feel comfortable with our industry, be proud of our industry. It's a wonderful industry. And then we need to have the tools in place to help them ramp up in their comfort level on the counter, because we need good quality folks that can help the industry from all the way to the bays, all the way back to the warehouse distributors. And so, one thing that the group is doing is we have the Group Trading Academy, and that we think best-in-class training is the best way to give people a running start in their careers, in their new careers, in the North American aftermarket. And then on top of that, we need to make sure they understand that this is a wonderful industry and that they can have leadership careers managing stores, managing warehouses throughout these great organizations. And the other thing that I'd tell you is that within the group, people know that there's a lot of consolidation going on from a jobber perspective, a WD perspective, an installer perspective. But what I like to recognize is the fact that the winners are winning, and the winners are the consolidators, and the winners are typically running better businesses that are more people driven. And so as we see this industry consolidate, I think it continues to upgrade itself, because those having success are the ones that had the winning formula, which bodes for a lot of great careers within their organizations.
Aside from consolidation, when you look into the future, what are some of the most important trends that could shape how the group does business?
When you say how could it shape the industry, over the next, few years, there's no question that it's access to data. And that access to data is a concern of mine with the right to repair initiatives, and that we need to band together in fighting that. And it's already been taken away in some other big industries like agriculture and things of that nature. So, we've seen what it can do to independent repair facilities. And in the light vehicle space, we still have the opportunity to win. But, it's the combination of getting involved. It's the combination of what's government regulation going to dictate. And then I'm also concerned on just how the individual car manufacturers start restricting data in smaller components, but still is going to block our independent aftermarket. So that's where I really feel for the counter pros, they need to be our eyes and ears, and that, they're going to find out different situations from the technician in their conversations that, hey, they didn't have this access, they didn't have the right diagnostic equipment to be able to do the job right, and that, we need them to report that, take pride in delivering those messages to the constituents at MEMA and AutoCare, because we need to arm them with both what is happening to our industry and are there any bad actors out there that are controlling the data.
Would you consider the restriction of access to data the single biggest threat to the aftermarket?
I think it's probably the single biggest threat. I think very close to that is the technician shortage. And that, I think they both have different influences on the business, but we need to work together on both of those initiatives at the same time, because the one would be a bottleneck from addressable market, from a right to repair perspective, and then just pure capacity of success is if we don't address this technician shortage.
We all know how great the aftermarket is, yet we still have a technician shortage, a counter professional shortage. Can you expand on that, and what can we do about that?
Yeah, I sure can, because I do think it's a major issue for our industry. But, I think it really just comes down to the lack of understanding and lack of excitement in the early stage career type of folks in their early 20s, where you'd really want to grab them and get them to latch on to our industry. And that, when you really look around at the bigger picture, I really think when you look at the technician shortage, that we are in a war with the other skilled trades arenas, and that, whether it's electricians or HVAC or plumbers or robotics and automation, we're going to be in a fight for whichever industry is going to figure this out first to make your industry attractive from a hands-on perspective, and that we really got to put money, resources, capital, and effort into showing how wonderful our industry is, because it can be a great career. There's the opportunity for a lot of income for early career folks that we can attract, and how we attract them is going to come from a few different ways, but there's no question it's got to be a group effort from our entire industry. But trust me, the ones that have figured it out are having a good time doing it and providing very well for their families, but we need more quantity.
Let's get a little more positive now. What, instead of the biggest threat, what's the biggest opportunity?
Yeah, there's no question that the biggest opportunity, in my opinion, is our industry. And that when I look at, we are in a strong industry that isn't going to go anywhere soon. You just look at the light vehicle side of things being just under a $400 billion opportunity in North America. Then you put on top of that medium duty and the final mile delivery vehicles. You put commercial vehicle on top of that. You put performance on top of that. This is a huge industry that has enough room for all of us to have success in. And that I just think we should be very bullish when you look at our car park. It's aging, miles driven. It is going to be a healthy industry for decades to come, and we should all be just enjoying that together.
Final question. What would you say to all the counter professionals watching today about their role in not only the group's success, but the automotive aftermarket success as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I touch on there is this is a people business, one that you should be proud of, and that when you have the opportunities to get involved with your customers, that you're really just going to prove the fact that this is still a people business when so many people are trying to make it transactional. And that's why, I like to do business belly to belly. I like to interact with folks on a regular basis for any types of discussions within our industry, because it's phenomenal and we should be proud of it, but we need to have fun with it as well.
Jeff, it was a pleasure having you in studio today.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Thank you for your time. Jeff Koviak, the CEO of the Automotive Parts Service Group. That's all for the latest episode of Counterculture. You can watch more Counterculture and Counterman videos on the Counterman YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.